What's up, everybody? This is your boy, Big Game James Davis. Got my homie right there, Anthony Tone Highland, man. What's going on, big dog?
Hey man, what's going on, Big Dog? Another episode. You know we motherfucking live in effect, Big Dog. Good to see you, Big Dog. It's been a minute, bro. What's
Hell
up, Big
yeah,
Dog?
bro, man. What you trying to get swole up there or something, nigga? What's
Nigga, when I tell you I've been bullshitting, nigga, I need to get back, short. Need to get back to that fighting weight, short. You know summer coming up, short.
That's it, man. That's it, man. Yo, that's international tone right there, boy. That motherfucker
Man,
be hitting up different time zones
trying,
like
dog.
a motherfucker.
Trying, dog. Trying. I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Keep that passport rolling.
Hell yeah, man. So I know that you had sent me over some videos maybe like a week ago. So you went to a Ravens event. Tell the world all about that, man.
Oh man, it was a good time, man. It was a good time, man. It was a Ravens. They were releasing the new jerseys, showing everyone the new jerseys, and uh, the Raven fans who have like season tickets were. It was
Hmm.
kind of like a quote unquote like a proud event for them, but they were able to have let's just say three or four extra tickets so they can invite their family and friends. So my cousin invited me. Shout out to my cuz,
Nice.
because he a season ticket holder. So he, invited me. It was at the Murrayweather Post Pavilion, so it was a good time. We came in there, and it was crazy because they had mannequins. As soon as you walk in, they had mannequins, but they were all covered up. So I'm like, oh shit. So they had food trucks. They had food in there, and then uh, my cousin had some type of like season tickets, and with his package, he got like free drink tickets.
Even better.
Oh my god!
I
So,
bet you that was a good
oh my
time.
god, boy! When I tell you, I was in there busted and disgusted, bro. It was a good time, bro, and it was packed in
Right.
there. It was packed in there. It was wild because so when I came in, they had like all of like the Ravens legends. Um, you know, damn, it seemed like everybody but Ray Lewis and Ed Reed was there. So Terrell Suggs, Matt Stover. Um, I'm trying to think who else was up there. My man Jimmy Smith, um, Jamal Lewis. Damn, I'm trying to think who else was in there. It was a good time, man. It was a good time. So they were kind of talking about Todd Heat. So they were on stage just talking about the Raven culture, um, you know, what they expect for this upcoming season with the new coach, and kind of like that championship run that they had. So after that, then uh, they released a video, kind of talking about the background of just the organization, uh, where the idea of the jerseys kind of came from and how it has progressed over the years. And then they pretty much showed everyone the jerseys, and they had current players come out and show the fans the new jerseys. Um, and man, it's certain people were like, I don't really see too much of a difference. Certain people like I like the small kind of things that they kind of did to the jerseys. Me personally, bro, I was a fan of it, bro. I was a fan. With certain things that we seen, that it just it was just kind of good to see, bro. So I personally liked it. I personally liked the New Jerseys. Um, I didn't want them to like full blown just change everything about the jerseys because I feel like we have like a great just historic type of jersey. But I feel like me personally, bro, I feel like it kind of gave like a Oregon type of vibe as far as the new additions and the new thing that they added to the jersey. So I was a big fan of it. But it was a good time, man. It was a good time, man, being around a bunch of Ravens fans. Good food, good drinks, seeing the legends. Man, it was a good time out there. So looking forward to the season, big dog. What's up with you though? Any events or anything you've been to?
Hell yeah, man. So with the Raiders and everything like that, with this number one pick, it's been really, really critical right now. It's been really crucial out here in Vegas. So Yeah, man, it's just been a lot. We have a few draft day parties out here in Vegas. So if you're out here in Vegas, man, come and just chill with us, man. ESPN, Fox, Raider Nation Radio, from Palms, MGM, South Point. Giving out free tickets. We're giving out free swag. Come out there, get drunk with us, man. Come up there, cheer on whatever team that you want to go up there and cheer on for, man. So, we're going to keep it live. But yeah, man, I'm looking at these next flight jerseys right now. What I really like about these next flight jerseys is, like you said, just the aesthetic kind of reminds me of Oregon. Of
Mm-hmm.
just that Oregon. It's just tough. It's timeless. You really don't even have to go and change too much of it. It's kind of like the San Diego, or it's kind of just like San Antonio Spurs. Where it's timeless. They already have the perfect color scheme, stuff like that. You really don't have to improve something that's already so good. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just to segue straight into, just the draft. Since the draft is tomorrow, everybody and their mom has their own mock draft. Every fucking analyst out there, thinks that they are a fucking GM. So it's really been interesting just to see, everybody talking about, what are the Cardinals going to go and do, with their third pick, or, what are the Jets going to go and do? So we even just talked about some of the draft moves as well too. When we were just looking at, the first two rounds of the draft, and one of the things that we talked about was this: Miami has a lot of draft capital.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City also has a lot of draft capital as well too. So it's really going to be really interesting just to go and see what some of these teams really want to go and do. Will they go and trade up? Will they go and trade down? A team that I've really been hearing a lot about is the Seahawks, just about trading out of the first round, just because right now they only have four draft picks. So it's really going to be really interesting just to go and see, everybody's draft philosophy and stuff like that. So um, right now, I just pulled up, just the draft order and everything right that. So when I'm looking at it right now, everything is, just still the same and stuff like that. There really hasn't been too many fluctuations as far as the draft order.
Yep.
But, you see something like this, now, since that Dexter Lawrence trade, now New York has two picks in the top 10 now. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really going to be another team, for me, that's really, really interesting just because you have John Harbaugh right there. It's really going to be interesting just to see, just because I believe that's one of the reasons why him and the Ravens didn't work out as seamlessly as it should have, just because he wanted more, I guess, control inside of the draft day process. So now it's really going to be really interesting just to see, what type of fingerprints will he have on this draft, order for, what are the Giants really going to go and do? Just because they have these two picks, I can definitely see them even trading back maybe into maybe that 16 or that 17 spot. I can see somebody like maybe Minnesota or Detroit, you know, wanted to go and, get that 10th pick and, go from there. So really, I'm looking at the Giants as that team that I can go and see, trading some of their draft capital. But it would be really interesting just to hear your philosophy about, do you think that there would be any movers or shakers? Will there be any type of draft day trades, or will there be any organizations that will either trade up or trade down?
To be honest, big dog, I think it's a few teams with a few players that are kind of going back and forth. There's a few players that want extensions, longer contracts, or who are just kind of unhappy with their teams. Um, Kind of like what we've seen with New York and the Bengals trade, right? I feel like Lawrence was kind of unhappy and wanted more. So the Giants like, all right, well, we don't want to give you more right now. So let's look into possibly getting you know uh, uh an extension of a draft pick, and they got it. So I'm looking at, bro, right now. I feel like the Eagles and AJ Brown. I feel like there's some things there that you know it might be time, bro. I feel like he has been wanting out for this season because he just has been unhappy. And what I'm realizing is, after you win a championship, um, after that point, it's like, what else am I really chasing? You know, yeah, you would like to win, as many championships as you can, but ultimately you also got to realize these players want money and they want to, feed their family. And the only way, the main thing for them to be able to feed their family is the numbers, right? So let's just say if I go from, having, 100 catches, 1,500 yards to, 60 catches and, 800 yards. That's to some organizations that's going to drop, my player value and how much money that I can get. And if a player is realizing like I'm not getting used, as I should, I need to go somewhere else so that I can be, better used and have more touches. These players are going to do that, man. It's the way of the game of the nature. And I feel like, AJ Brown is one of them players that feels like he is, you know, a top five wide receiver. So I need those top five wide receiver touches. And as we know, man, as JSN out in Seattle, is going to get a bag. Puka out in LA, he's going to get a bag. So I feel like AJ Brown is looking at these players like looking like, man, if they're going to get the bag, technically, because of that value and the number that they have, and I'm not getting those numbers, that means the next contract that I have, a lot of these coaches and a lot of these teams are going to try to lowball me because I'm not receiving the touches or the touchdowns or the yards that I know that I can get. And I feel like he's been, kind of unhappy with his situation over there in Philadelphia, which he has, spoken about. And we can vividly see it on the sideline, bro. You on the sideline reading books mid game, you you're trying not to ultimately be the Terrell Owens, and you kind of loudmouth it, the situation or whatever. So I feel like he's trying to calmly try to tell him like, look, like I'm unhappy. I need something to change. And ultimately, we haven't seen the change. So I don't know. We've seen it. The Eagles, kind of downplay it and say, AJ Brown is here. But ultimately, we know how the things go during the draft, bro. Anything can happen. As we seen, I wasn't expecting New York to trade one of their star defensive tackles away before the draft, but they did it. And a lot of these teams I feel like, are going to make moves so that they can get more draft capital, or somebody who may be like the Los Angeles Rams a few years ago when they was like, man, fuck them picks. We need stars over here. We need players who can build this organization today so that we can make this playoff run to go for this championship now. We don't want to rebuild. We don't got time to, bring in a player in and hope and wish that, they can be a top five player. We want a top five player now. So I feel like it's going to be a lot of teams that kind of make some moves with the star players who might be unhappy, or from the opposite point of view, it's going to be a lot of teams who, you know, may give up draft capital because they want that star now. They want to be able to say like, look, we got the star that we feel like is going to be able to push us to the next level. And so I feel like it's going to be some major moves that happen around the draft, which we kind of always see every year. It's something different, whether teams trade up or trade down. Star players are being traded during um, the draft. So we're gonna see some big things, big dog. What you feel? What you feeling about this draft, man?
Yeah, man. Look, if I'm really just looking at it, man, and some of these mock drafts are just really funny. Just hearing just their philosophy, just about how that they got to how they pick this certain prospect just for a team, right? So if you just look at where the Ravens are, right, they had 14, right? So you see the Rams right there, and I think the Rams are probably one of those teams that will be like Seattle, where like they probably will trade back so that they can get more day two and day three compensation.
Hmm.
So like you said, they are not as on these draft picks the same way that some of these other teams are, just because they always hit.
Yep.
So for them, they don't really need a first round pick to go up there and to find excellent talent. If you look at Puka, if you look at Jared Verse, if you just look at just the names that they've just had inside of the building, and a lot of that is just good drafting. So you're right. I feel like the Rams are just one of those teams that have just said fuck it, with just this whole draft philosophy of just like, oh, we need a top tier pick or something like that. It's really just about, the core of guys that they had at that time, right?
Yep.
So, when they had the Aaron Donalds inside of there, and it was more about winning right now, even though they still had Matthew Stafford in there, you know,
Hmm.
they were still just like, hey, you know what, we need stars right now. We need to be able to rely on the team that we have right now just because we're so close to winning a championship, and which they did, right? So I feel like right now they are around that type of mentality again, or like it's reminiscent of just their previous title runs where like you know, they have maybe one or two draft picks in like the first two rounds, but they trade back, they get more compensation, they rely on side of their coaching, they rely on side of their drafting, and just their scouting. And it has
Hmm.
been absolutely elite. So why would they go and change, right? So for me, if I'm looking at that, I'm looking at that 13 and that 14 spot right there. And I'm looking at those teams and I'm saying that like, hey, you know, I've seen a lot of mock drafts where like, hey, if Lemon is right there, that Baltimore would get him. I've also seen the Penn State offensive lineman as well too. So here's my thing. You know, that that defensive line, right? There was a reason why that they wanted to go and pair Hendrickson and Max Crosby together, right? I feel
Hmm.
like this. If they work on that defensive line for the Ravens right there, that is just everything for them, right? So I feel like, hey, you know what? I've seen a lot of mock drafts where it's just like, oh man, Lamar needs like another, top-notch wide receiver, which he does, right? Even though they still had DeAndre Hopkins in there, even though Zay Flowers still did his thing and stuff like that. What I would really, really love for Baltimore, and this is just me, Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon. I feel
Hmm.
like if you go and draft him, right, he can fill that Isaiah Likely departure. Just because I don't think that enough people who haven't seen enough of the Ravens play really understand just how special Isaiah Likely was, even as somebody coming
Heavily.
from what that motherfucker was from East Carolina or something like that,
Yep.
so he was
Eastern
already coming
Carolina.
from like a small school, did his thing and stuff like that. He is a absolute beast, and I feel like that will just be Jackson Dart's reliable target. He can possibly be Jackson Dart's, Jason Witten. He could be that Todd Uriah Heep, so when I just see where the Ravens are, they have such a unique opportunity because they can either trade upwards. Because hey, you know what? You see Kansas City right there. You see New Orleans. You see New Orleans right there as well too. You can trade up with Miami right there because you know that Miami has a lot of draft capital as well too in the first two rounds.
Hmm.
So they could go up there and trade up. I would say if you're going to go and trade up for one of these defensive stars that are out here, right? So if I'm looking at it, right, if you're still there around that time and you have the opportunity to maybe draft Jermod McCoy from Tennessee, I feel
Hmm.
like get him. Get Mansour Delante from LSU. So you have all of these great cornerbacks that are still right there for the Ravens, and if you can't go up there and get one of these top tier defensive tackles or something like that, just because other than David Bailey and maybe Arvell Reeves and maybe Ruben Bain inside of like the top 15 picks.
Yeah.
Other than that, there is a lot of talent inside of the second and the third rounds. You have somebody like Big Citrus out there in fucking Syracuse,
Yep.
so you have so many good talent, talented athletes that will be there day two and day three. For me, I feel like the Ravens, they can go up there and really, trade upwards. They can go and get that star corner, pair him with fucking Kyle Hamilton, and that defense is going to be absolutely elite.
No, that's a fact, brother. Because I feel like ultimately with the Ravens, unfortunately they couldn't pay everyone. So a lot of the key players that we had, they walked and got a bag. Just like you said, I felt like us getting a tight end in the draft will definitely be important because that's a void, um, in a hole that we will fill, as we have lost Charlie Cola, and Isaiah Likely, two key tight ends that we had in our program, who has departed through free agency. So Kenyon Sadiq definitely will be a great pick. Um, I'm looking for us to, I feel like with the Ravens, we have had some great draft picks. I will say, unfortunately, sometimes it's kind of hit or miss with us in the wide receiver position. But everywhere else, I feel like we have been great with being able to draft great players, whether that's in the first, second, or third round, um, and or further out. So we definitely going to make some moves. I'm also just kind of interested just to kind of see with a few players that I feel like maybe on the trade block during the draft. um, I'm looking at Brandon Ayuk for the
Oh,
49ers.
ho, ho. Yeah.
Um, it's not sure what I know he was, battling an injury and trying to come back from that, but unfortunately that situation with the 49ers has turned sour. So I'm looking for them to, you know, um, maybe make a move with him. Now I feel like it's ultimately up to these NFL teams to be able to have confidence because unfortunately once you put a sour taste in, you know, an organization, with the organization, sometimes, things kind of spread whereas though another organization might be kind of hesitant to pull a trigger on you and trade a good draft pick for somebody like that. But I'm also kind of looking at bro Max Crosby because with that situation with the Raiders, I know his contract ultimately they will have to fulfill. And the Raiders have made a lot of has picked up a lot of players in this offseason right now. So I'm kind of interested to see will they trade Max Crosby to kind of relieve some of that money from that cat, or will they just try to figure it out from there. So that's going to be interesting as well as the Bills wide receiver Keon Coleman. Unfortunately, Keon Coleman with the Bills, there's it's certain things that are kind of going on behind scenes that we don't fully know about because it's a few games where he was a healthy scratch, and they had high hopes for him. So I'm kind of interested to see, will they trade him, for maybe a draft pick in this draft, because ultimately, sometimes certain players, but just need a breath of fresh air. And a breath of fresh air, I mean, a new team, new organization, new coach, a new system. Because sometimes, players, they fall into this kind of stigma where they might not be getting that way, and now since they're not getting that way, it's things kind of happen behind the scenes that kind of turn an organization sideways, or they might be finding him behind closed doors. All right, well, if you don't want to do this, well, you're going to be a healthy scratch, which ultimately, man, it affects these guys' payday in some way, shape, or form. So, kind of interested to see what kind of happens there. Um, and just kind of throwing out a wild card, uh, uh, the edge rusher from the New York Giants, Kayvon
Yeah, Thibodeau.
Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Thibodeau.
Mhm.
I feel like that's another player who may or may not, possibly end up being traded because, the Giants have had kind of high hopes for him, and he's been, battling injuries here and there, and the numbers kind of don't match where they drafted him at. So that's maybe another player, that we can kind of, may see be traded. But it's going to be some interesting things that kind of go on, as we kind of see, man. Ultimately, I feel like another player, and this is kind of me just throwing out a wild card, Kyle Pitts, the tight end from the Atlanta Falcons.
There you go.
Um, hey man, some teams just say fuck that draft pick. I know this is the guy's a stud, bro. The guy's a stud. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
he is.
Unfortunately, I feel like that the numbers that he should be getting or the touches that he should be getting, he isn't. I mean, ultimately, Atlanta has a great run game, so sometimes you having a great run game can kind of negate the numbers from other players. So it's kind of things like that. But if I'm you know a team that is like one or two pieces away, especially on the offensive side. And I just want to take a look here at the uh, at the draft. As far as who has like in the top 10 for an example, right? If I'm looking at the top 10, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I know Kansas City need a few holes, but if I'm fucking Kansas City and I'm like, bro, I can get a Kyle Pitts to go alongside of Patrick Mahomes, and we already know they have the speedy wide receivers. I might say fuck that ninth pick. Give me Kyle Pitts. The Falcons can take the ninth pick, and um, you know, if I'm Kansas City, I'm looking to also get possibly a second round draft pick from them. And as we see sometimes, bro, it might can be a three-team trade or multiple team trade. You know what I'm saying? One team takes a player, another team takes another draft pick, and we kind of switch our things around. But those are kind of the players that I'm kind of looking at as far as who possibly may be traded during this draft. But yeah, man, I feel like the draft tomorrow is going to be big. Where is it? Is it in Pittsburgh?
The good old Pittsburgh. Listen, good old Pittsburgh right
Where the
now.
fuck is the draft on in Pittsburgh?
It's trying to hit up everywhere, man. And one of the good things just about the draft too is just that it's still going to be so many great free agents still out there, right? And I just put up this graphic right here where like you still have Tyreek Hill, you still have Stephon Diggs, Marshawn Lattimore is still out there,
Mm,
Trayvon Diggs, the Jarius Sneed. When I'm just looking at all of these great players that are still not signed, right? And I'm also just looking at, what certain teams need, right? So it's really going to be interesting just to see, will a team like the Ravens, right, still go after somebody like Tyreek Hill, if they don't go and draft somebody like Jordan Tyson, if they don't go and draft somebody like Makai Lemon or, David Boston, some of these other wide receivers, that they've really, had really high grades on, because you still have somebody like Debo Samuel right here. When I'm even looking at this tight end situation, right, I feel like Pittsburgh did Jonnu Smith such a disadvantage, right?
mm-hmm.
Just because, first of all, Jonnu Smith had to deal with Tua being his fucking quarterback, right? And he
Yep.
still had career high numbers and shit like that, right? Then he went to a fucking team with Aaron Rodgers, fucking Jeff Bridges as the fucking quarterback, right?
Yep.
So you have such a good tight end that is still inside of his prime, right? That'll be really interesting as well too. So you still have David Njoku right there. I still see somebody like Jimmy Ward still being a top tier defensive back, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have him, Leonard Floyd. I saw some of these other names that are on here as well too, man. Where it's just like, a lot of these teams have so many glaring holes, right? But I
Yep.
feel like a lot of these free agents, they're also just looking at what type of new blood are they bringing in, right? If I'm Stephon Diggs, right? Why would I want to go somewhere where, like, hey, they just drafted their wide receiver of the future, and it's not going to be about who is the best. It's just going to be about putting these players out inside of these situations, even though, like, one player still might be just a little bit better, but if you are going to invest a first or a second round pick inside of somebody, right, you're going to go and give them just a little bit more burn than somebody that you're just bringing off, even though they are a fucking veteran, right?
Right.
So when I'm looking at this and I'm just like, yo, like, a team like the Ravens will still be good. A team like the Rams are still going to be good, right? Just because they don't need to go and to possibly get a wide receiver, just because somebody like Tyreek Hill can go to the Rams and ball out. Somebody like Stephon Diggs can go to the Rams and go and just ball out. And it's the same thing for the Ravens, right?
Yep.
I think that the Ravens will have to go and throw the bag at Stephon Diggs for him to go and to play in Baltimore, even though he's a Maryland kid, right? And I feel like, um, one of the great things just about this draft is just that, man, it is so loaded with just talent that it's just like, man, like, you know, it's really going to be interesting June 1st, once they can go up there and officially call it the new league year or something like that, or just like, that's when some of these teams can go and cut people off of their books. That's really, really when the fun is really going to start. So you already referenced AJ Brown of just like, it's basically 99% confirmed that like, hey, he's going to be a Patriot, right? But a lot of those moves are going to start happening, post June 1st. So it's going to be really interesting, man. And this draft is just a microcosm of just how much good talent that are still out here. And you know some of these teams, like you said, you have a team like the fucking Kansas City Chiefs, who know how to win, and they really don't even need that many pieces and shit like that. And I really do feel like this second round and this third round will probably be the round where like, hey, in like maybe 1 or 2 years, we can go back and say like, hey, which team found that Jared Verse?
Yep.
Which team found that fucking Puka? Which one really did their homework and found them? So the Browns are a really interesting situation as well too, right? Because if I'm
Hmm.
looking at it right here, right, you have two first round picks with the Browns as well too, right? And normally I would have said that, hey, they should go after Sadiq as well too, just because they just lost Brian Njoku. They need wide receivers. They need just talented, pass catchers, right? But their rookie tight end from last year, Heron Fannin Jr., he was a beast.
Yep.
He was an absolute beast. So it kind of just like, yo, Cleveland is really inside of a really, really good situation just because they also had what Carson Swearinger or something like that linebacker from fucking UCLA last year.
Yep.
So like their defense is stout. They had Mason Graham. Mason Graham absolutely had a great season for them as well too. So it's just like, man, like they also have Quinshawn Junkins as well too. Um, they have some pieces, man. So it's just like that quarterback situation just needs to be ironed out just because will it be Shador? Will it be fucking Deshaun Watson? I don't think anybody is really pulling for Dylan Gabriel, but man, that Cleveland Browns team is potentially exciting just because they can really be an outlier inside of the AFC if they just get some competent QB play.
Yep.
So they can add on a few players and shit like that. Fuck it. They can go and draft a top tier wide receiver with that second pick inside of the first round, or they can wait until the second round, and just do it like that. So this team for me is kind of just like, man, like, what the Steelers may or may not be, they're probably going to be ass this year. You don't know what the Bengals are going to go and be just because they have so many moving parts. Joe Burrow is going to be a fucking beast.
Definitely.
Chase Brown had a really disappointing start to a season, but the end was fucking, spectacular. So,
Hmm.
man, this Cincinnati team is really something. And now, since Cincinnati doesn't have any first round picks, that can potentially be a team that calls back up just to get back into the first round. So that could be a team that, like, hey, let me go and negotiate with Seattle just because that's an NFC team. AFC, I know that I won't have to go and just deal with them. I could potentially see the Cincinnati Bengals being one of those teams that will get back into the first round.
No, that's definitely a fact. That's definitely a fact because at the end of the day, it's like you know having having the more draft picks is so many things that you can do with that, bro. Because it's certain teams who have maybe 3 or 4 draft picks. There's other teams who fuck around. It got fucking 13. So it's like, all right, we got 13 picks. We don't really need 13 picks. Let's see what we can do with these 13 picks to start out and say, all right, let's trade away 3 of them so that we can move up in the draft, or let's give away 3 of them so that we can get a player who a team might be trying to get off of their books. So I'm looking at this draft as definitely a valuable key to a lot of teams, bro. And unfortunately, certain teams have you know are able to draft really good. A lot of teams don't fucking know how to draft, or just their draft picks don't turn out into who they expect and who they want. But it's definitely going to be good because I'm looking at the certain teams with a lot of picks. Like the Steelers have 12 picks, the Dolphins 11. The Jaguars have New England has 11 picks, Baltimore has 11 picks. Raiders got 10 picks. So it's teams up there with 10 plus picks. So a lot of moves can be made, whether you want to draft those players or whether you want to say, all right, let's trade away two or three of these picks to another team so that we can either bump up the player and to ultimately get the player that we want in the draft, or let's try to get a team who may be trying to get rid of a star player. Let's give them a few draft picks so that we can try to get a star or two from the trade. So it, man, I feel like we're going to see some big things happen tomorrow, big dog.
Hell yeah, man. So I don't want to go and beat down dead fucking dog, man. But yeah, based off of just the 15 prospects that I have up on the screen right here, who would be your top three picks? So Raiders, Jets, and Cardinals. Who would be the first? What will be the order of the first three picks?
Oh man, man, man. The top three picks. I feel like ultimately we know that the Raiders are going to get a quarterback. So I feel like they have to get Mendoza. I mean, shit, I don't know who else is a quarterback on that roster right now.
So
Um,
Kirk Cousins, maybe. Yeah.
right. Oh yeah, but they did get Kirk Cousins. Um, but I'm looking at Mendoza. Um, Let me see. We got the Raiders, we got the Jets, and we got the Saints. I'm thinking the Jets might get Arvell Reese from Ohio State. Um, the Saints might get. I'm thinking the Saints might get another Ohio State, uh, another Ohio State guy in Sonny Styles.
Hmm,
So
nice.
I'm thinking offense, defense, and defense for my first three picks.
Nice. 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 Yeah, man. I think Fernando is going to be everybody's de facto number one pick, and just everything that we do out here with the Raiders, I can 99.99% guarantee that Fernando will be the number one pick. So
Man, he
that's
better.
definitely already in stone for you know for the Raiders. So that that's already in stone. So this is really when the draft really starts for me. When I'm looking at the second pick, right, and you got the Jets right here, and when I'm looking at it, they can use everything. The Jets was just dog as horrible last year, right? But
Mm,
if I'm just looking at some of the picks that they've made in the past and stuff like that, I feel like honestly Caleb Downs would probably be the best just for that Jets team. Even though I feel like hey, Sony Styles will also be a really really great pick too. So if I have to go with the Jets, I think that the Jets take Sony Styles, so that He could be the QB just for the defense, just because I believe they just signed back DeMarco Davis, I believe, from the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that he just went back to the Jets as well too. So I believe if you have Davis and also Sony Styles right there, that is a formidable middle linebacking core right there. So that linebacking core, I feel like that is what the Jets probably will go for. So I'm gonna say it's going to be Fernando, then it's going to be Styles. Now for the third pick, Cardinals are very, very, very fucking interested. Very interesting because I feel like if Dante Moore would have came out, it would have been a real debate just about will the Jets go and try to get their next franchise quarterback, or will the Cardinals try to get their next franchise quarterback? And now you see the stuff with the Cardinals too, with Jacoby Brissett isn't trying to go to any of these voluntary mini camps or something like that, just because I believe the GM or the coach was just like, hey, we don't even know who our starter is going to be. And Jacoby was just, through social media, bro was just, laughing just at it. So he's definitely going to be their starting quarterback going into the 2026 season. But now it's really going to be interesting what they would have done with that pick if Dante Moore was available, and if Fernando Mendoza, if the Raiders didn't need a quarterback, right? So
Mm-hmm.
thank goodness Arizona doesn't need to really deal with that. But I've been hearing a lot of talk just about Jeremiah Love as well too. Them going, with Jeremiah Love, even though they still have James Conner, DeMarcado is still in there, I believe, as well too. So for me, I feel like with that Arizona team, they just need to get the best possible player right there, right?
Yeah.
And I still feel like David Bailey will still be that best possible player for him. So for me, I feel like they will get David Bailey for the Cardinals. So it's going to be Mendoza for me, then it's going to be Sony Styles, and then it's going to be David Bailey. Even though Arvell Reese is still a beast, I still feel like, hey, somebody like one of these other teams can probably come up there and try to trade up, just because I feel like if any of these players can possibly drop down and drop down from like their projections right now, I feel like it would either be Arvell Reese or Caleb Downs, just because I thought Caleb Downs was probably like the third or fourth best prospect, but like with some of these mock drafts, I've seen him going all the way down to like number 10. So yeah, man, I feel like either way, these organizations, man, they do so much homework. They ask so many different type of questions. They need to go and figure out, what will be good for them and stuff like that. But I actually do feel like out of, if I'm just looking at these top three picks, which organization probably has the most assets to start off with is actually the fucking Cardinals. The Cardinals have the most assets to start off with because you already have a all pro tight end and fucking McBride. Trey McBride is a fucking beast. You still have Marvin Harrison. Michael Wilson really had a really beast season once Marvin Harrison was out. So that's a beast right there. You still have James Conner right there. That offensive line wasn't absolutely terrible, but it wasn't good as well too, just by the way that Jacoby was getting fucked up in there. But then again, Jacoby was throwing a lot of interceptions as well too. He was basically going through what Geno Smith was going through.
Right.
So, they can also work on the line as well too. So Francis, Myoga, that would also be a really, really good pick for them, just because if they can go and solidify their offensive line, I feel like that would just give Marvin Harrison more shelf life. That would give James Conner much more ability, just to go and get the yards.
No, that's a fact, bro. That's a fact. And ultimately, bro, these teams, they have these positions for a reason. The this isn't like the NBA lottery where a team, can pop out and get lucky, and get, a higher draft pick. These teams are, you know, ranked by the worst that they were last season. So ultimately, these teams need a lot of pieces. I will say, just like you said, the Cardinals probably have, the I will say this. Sometimes, your trash bag might be filled with a whole bunch of bullshit, right? Sometimes you fuck around and just leave uh, a 5-star restaurant and you might not finish it all, and now that's in your trash. You know what I'm saying? So now your trash isn't filled with a bunch of bullshit. It's filled with, you know, a fucking half of
Five-star
a
shit.
steak. Yeah, a 5-star piece of steak that you ain't finished. You know what I'm saying? So now it's like your bag got a little bit, you working with a little bit more stuff in your trash bag. But fucking some of these things, bro, the trash bag filled with a whole bunch of bullshit that you done had in your refrigerator for a fucking week and a half that you ain't eat, and you like, I don't want this shit. Let me throw this shit in the trash. And this is why a lot of teams are, as we see, have the number one, two, three, and top 10 picks. Now, you do have, certain organizations, just like a Kansas City, right? They if I'm not mistaken, they have the ninth pick. Um, Let me just double check to make sure. Yes, Kansas City has, the ninth pick, right? So they in the top 10, right? But we ultimately know that they have key pieces, right? You got a great head coach and you got a great quarterback. When you're looking as far as great organizations and trying to make that next step, you gotta have at least those two to start off with. If I'm at, you know any team, a great quarterback and a great coach is what I would like to start off with, and then everything else I can kind of build around. You know what I'm saying? But once a lot, if your team is missing a key position as the quarterback, it's like, it's going to be tough for you at any point in time. So, man, these teams, bro, you have to draft. Like, it's so valuable how important a draft is, just for building your organization as well as, free agency, so you can be able to pinpoint and pick these different players. I will say, man, the fucking New York Giants, and I fucking hate to say it, because John Harbaugh is my fucking op now. And even though
Uh,
he's not in the same division, I still feel like if you ain't part of the Ravens, then fuck you. But man, the fucking New York Giants have done a great job in free agency. So the pieces that they have acquired in free agency, I feel like are going to play a major position into the success that they have next year. Now, we honestly never know, because hey, fucking, we had Joe Harbaugh last year and fucking Lamar Jackson, and we didn't make the playoffs. But hey, so you just never know sometimes too. But I will say this, man, these teams have a lot of pieces to kind of fulfill. Just like you said, you know, like the Cardinals have, some good pieces. And shit, I'm also looking at it. The fucking my fault, my thank God. But the Commanders, can you hear me, big dog?
yeah,
The Commanders, I feel like you have a great quarterback. A quarterback who can definitely take you all at least to the playoffs or get you there just by his play. Once he's healthy. So if they add a few key pieces, they may be able to, kind of make that change and bump up their season. But this is just my question to you, big dog. From teams who have the top 10 picks, right? Who do you think next season is going to be able to make that leap and make that jump, so they aren't in the top 10 next year? They might be in, the bottom half, and let's just say the last 20 picks, 20 to 30 instead of them being the top 10. Because as we all know, if you in that 20 to 30 range, you had a decent season. You just need a few more pieces. You made the playoffs. Ultimately, if you had the last pick in the draft, you were the team that uh, you know, won it all. Normally, that's how it goes. Um,
But who do you think in these teams, these top 10 teams who have draft picks this season, will be able to make that change next season?
You know, if I'm just looking at just this first round, and you still have Kansas City on there, and that's probably one of the easier choices, just about a team that won't be inside of the top 10 next year. But if I'm also looking at it, it's also a team that you also just talked about, Washington Commanders. So Washington Commanders just seemed like they just had one of those years where like everything that went wrong went wrong.
Hmm.
So it seems like, if they can just get back Jaden Daniels to at least 70% of what he was his rookie year, they will be absolutely fine, right?
Yep.
But, definitely that New York Giants team, because you also have to look at that division. And I was about to go and say the Saints, just because also the Saints are also inside of the same type of divisional fluctuation, the same way that like the Giants are. They are just the beneficiaries of a really really weak division, or
Yep.
just a division that fluctuates so much that like, hey, you kind of know that like Cowboys have teetered towards that 8-8, that 7-9 type of threshold. What, 7-10, or 8-10 type of threshold. So it has just been one of those type of things where like I feel like just based off of their division, they have a shot just to go and just to, win more games than not. It's kind of just like with the Panthers, right? The Panthers de facto making it into the fucking playoffs last year just because of just how god awful the NFC fucking South was last
That
year,
is
right?
fucking terrible.
And it was just freaking terrible. And like now, I I'm not I'm not big on Tyler Show, as maybe those Saint fans are, but if he can go up there and just give you some type of competent type of QB play, because you already know Chris Olave is going to be a beast. Now, is Alvin Kamara still part of the team? Just because I believe that they traded for another running back, and right now it's not connecting who it was, but they traded just for a major running back as well too.
Yep.
So for me, man, if I'm looking at it and if I have to put my money on these teams in the top 10 right now about who won't be back in the top 10 again, definitely Kansas City. But just to go and just make it just a little bit easier, I would think that Giants team, just because you have a whole new philosophy inside of there, you have a whole new way of just going about it and doing it. Um, you also are dealing with a coach that has dealt with people talking about the acumen of their quarterback, or just like, hey, your quarterback is just a running quarterback, or just like, hey, they don't really know how to throw or something like that. So he has navigated that. Even with fucking Joe Flacco, right? I don't think anybody other than people who lived in Baltimore, or maybe those ones that were Delaware fans, really saw anything that was special with Joe Flacco, right?
Hmm.
So it does take a really good organization, and does take a really good coach just to go and just to be able to get the best out of that player when there's just been so many negative aspects just about their game. And I think one of the negative aspects just about Jackson Dart's game is just that it's just too reckless, right?
Hmm.
And you can talk about all of the quarterbacks, who had great ability, just until, they can't do it anymore. And we can talk about RG3 all day. We could talk about, some of these other quarterbacks that, once they got hit a few times, like they just look different, right? So I feel like with this team, and you still have Cam Scatterboo, and it'll be really interesting if a team like the Giants draft somebody like Jeremiah Love, which could really, really work for them, right? So I feel like that team right there, with some of the additions that they've added, and it wasn't like this Giants defense was terrible. It was
Hmm.
just like, yo, they just didn't know how to win, because a lot of their games came down to the second half. And then once they got into that third and the fourth quarter, that's when the game started just getting away from them.
Yep. No, that's
Who do
definitely
you
a fact.
think? Who do you think, though, Big Dub?
To me, in my opinion, bro, when I'm looking at this top 10, Bro, I think the fucking Giants, yo. It's hard for me to say this shit because I fucking, oh my God. It's like I don't want fucking the Giants to be super fucking successful. And now everybody looking at the Ravens like, what the fuck was y'all doing?
Yo,
So it's like,
these niggas setting niggas back.
right, yo. I'm like, oh my God, yo. I don't want that shit. But I was like, for me, just looking at just the things that the Giants have done in this offseason, the draft picks that they have, I'm like, bruh, they might be able to make that turn to at least, all right, excuse me, might not be the I'm not saying they're going to be the fucking best team in the fucking NFL, but just kind of looking at the Giants, I'm like, bro, they might be able to be at least like a playoff contention type of team. Um, because I'm like, the players that they picked up in free agency have been great and key pieces. Um, they also have a star wide receiver and Neighbors coming back from off of his injury. Um, so they have the pieces. Ultimately it's going to depend on the quarterback play and the defense. But me just kind of looking at them, I'm like, shit, they might be able to do it.
They might be. They
They might
might
be
be
able
able
to
to
do
do
it
it.
for y'all. They might be able to get themselves at least in position to ultimately get themselves to be in the playoffs. Um, ultimately that it's kind of tough because they are in a tough division with Philly, of course. Dallas. I mean, sometimes you just never know what the fucking which Dallas team you're gonna get. So that kind of wishy washy, but I mean, same thing with Washington. You just never know with the Dallas and the Washington type of teams as far as like how their season is going to end. Because I feel like these are two teams that kind of start off the season hot as of these late couple of years. They kind of start off hot, and they have a lot of potential behind them. And then by the end of the season, it kind of fades. And it might be because of injury, or might just because of how the organization is kind of being ran and the coaching. But I feel like the Giants might be able to. They might be able to squeeze themselves into the playoffs. I feel like the NFC East, man, is one of those divisions that they have some solid players. Each team has solid players. So ultimately, it's up to the players and the organization to be able to kind of make that, make it happen. But they also have to, defend with the NFC North. And I'm looking at the Bears, the Packers, Minnesota, Detroit. That's another, solid ass conference. Excuse me, solid ass division. Like, everyone in the NFC North had a, a a record above 500, which means when it gets
Right.
down to the playoffs and that wild card, you scratching and picking with your own, teams in your own division. So it's definitely going to be tough, man. It's definitely going to be a great season. And shit, man, the fucking NFC West is stacked. Fucking Seattle, the Rams, and the fucking 49ers. Arizona is some ass. But you got three elite teams just in that
Right.
specific division. So, I feel like the Giants may be able to kind of make that change as far as the teams that are in, who have those top 10 picks who might be able to make a change for next season to at least be able to squeeze themselves in the playoffs.
Hell yeah, man. And like you said, motherfuckers gonna be mad as shit if the Giants kind of feel like that girl that you knew, you know what I mean? Like, that bitch was mad fucking crazy, but then she was still bad as shit. And like, that's still yours. But then like, if I see fucking John Harbaugh go over there and turn those motherfuckers around and shit like that,
Oh
I'm gonna
god.
be up there like, the fuck is going on
Oh my
inside of
god,
that
yo.
inside of that fucking Owens Mills location, inside of that practice location? Cause like, my man Zay Flowers was already talking about it. Zay was already just
Was.
it was week 17 and we going full on 101.
Like what? Like and it's crazy because me coming from just being an athlete, bro. Like
Right?
I felt
Yo.
like what we would do is like early in the week we banging. Later on in the week when it comes to like closer to the game, it's less and less pads that we got on. So we might start off the week Monday and Tuesday, full pads. Wednesday it might just be shoulder pads. Thursday and Friday, we might just be in, shirts, shirts and shorts, and we kind of going over the game plan, kind of prepare ourselves, our mind and our bodies for the game on Saturday. But I don't remember a fucking time Friday when we full on fucking banging. Like, fuck no. We'll look at like, what the fuck are we doing? Why are we
Like what
fucking
the
banging?
fuck is this nigga on?
Like we gotta game them all. Like, no, that's how
Yo,
people
and
get hurt.
these are NFL athletes too, yo. So I can understand, like, yo, you're doing some other type of football or some other type of, sports where it's just like it's not even at like the highest level, but you're doing that shit at the highest level.
At the
and then
highest
like
level. It don't
and
get
then
no higher than that.
People got mad at Lamar for being hurt. People got mad at I remember we had like a few offensive linemen that used to get turf toe a lot, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
remember people used to go up there and just talk so much shit, or just like, oh man, you know what? The Ravens are, oh man, this person is just soft. And it's just like, yo, if you just knew just the way that like they had to go and sacrifice their body the whole fucking week, like, yo, there's no way that somebody wasn't hurt in some of those practices, and
Right.
then they just played that shit off, and then they was just like, you know what, Sunday come down to it, and then fuck it, like, yo, I know that I'm hurt, but then like, yo, I'm not gonna miss out on some shit right then and there. Like, they still
Exactly.
played hurt.
Right.
They still played hurt, and like,
Right.
it just makes you think about all of those moments inside of those real crucial ass moments, right? Where it's just like, hey, you look at those ones where like, hey, Mark Andrew drops the ball. You look at those ones where like, hey, Isaiah Likely was maybe like this far out, or like those ones where like I remember that play against the Steelers when Lamar is scrambling to his left, right? And I remember DeAndre Hopkins is like right there. And it's just like Lamar wanted him just to go up the sidelines just because it was just nothing but green grass right there, right?
Yeah.
And then I just think about those moments of just what Zay Flowers said of just like how many times like their bodies have been through so much and just like, yo, like if they didn't go that hard inside of some of these practices, maybe inside of some of those moments where like you really have to go and just conjure up all of your energy. And it's just like, yo, you can be so fucking depleted sometimes just because, fourth quarter, it's ninth inning, it's third period, it's whatever sports that you're playing, right? But it's towards the end of it, right? And that's the only thing that you have is just that little bit of energy.
Yep.
I wonder how many times have they been inside of that predicament, and like if they wasn't pushed as hard as they were, maybe that Friday, maybe that Thursday, how different their luck would have been.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact because sometimes, bro, in key pivotal points in the game, the things that you had previously experienced alter, the things that you could have done. Um, Shit, motherfucker, I remember me one time. Nigga, I caught an interception one time. I'm running that motherfucker. I'm trying my hardest at running back too. I'm fucking huffing and puffing. Uh, and in my mind, I'm thinking about shit I did 2 weeks ago. Like, why the fuck did I go out drinking? I'm like, yo, why the fuck did I go out drinking fucking 2 weeks ago? This shit then caught up to me.
There you
Motherfucker
go,
chased
right?
me down. But it just like you said, bro, it goes down to just like yo, if you practice hard Monday through fucking Friday, come Sunday, your body might not be in the best physical condition for you to be able to do certain things that you know you can do, right? And sometimes, bro, when fatigue sets in, the first thing that fatigue sets into, and this is just my personal opinion, is your mind, because
Mhm.
you don't make the best decisions under fatigue, right? When you're fatigued, your mind is the first thing that kind of go, then your body, right? So like if I know in my mind, like, damn, I'm a little tired, or like my fucking legs hurt, or damn, my back hurt. You know what I'm saying? That's already in my mind. So it's like when I try to make a play, I'm thinking about that. It's already
Mhm.
affecting me. And I feel like a lot of times, it's like you said, it's like, let's just say like the Mark Andrews drop. Bro, when that ball coming, it's a million fucking things in your mind. You can
Right.
try your best to, clear your mind, but sometimes, bro, you might be thinking about like, damn, like this game on Sunday, but fucking on Friday, I just remember trying my hardest trying to, you know, run away from Roquan Smith. Now it's like I'm mentally fatigued, and now it's altering my play. So,
Mhm.
just like you said, man, it was a key thing that Zay Flowers kind of said, but it was also interesting to kind of hear him when he was talking about the conversation that he had with Jesse Minter and asking him
Mhm.
about practices, like how
Right.
how the practices going to be set, like because we're
Mhm.
coming off this practices like this, and I feel like these practices that we previously had ultimately not only affect me but affected this team, but and we also got to think about the fact that the fucking NFL is so fucking money hungry that they added an extra game, which is an extra week of practice on your body, right? They're also looking to
Yep.
try to add another game to make it 18. So that's going to be
Right.
another, a week of practice and everything that's on your body. And I feel like sometimes, bro, it's like the NFL was so money hungry that they don't realize that, the more games that you have, especially in a physical sport as football, it's more likely for star players to get hurt. And I feel like it, it once more and more star players continuously getting hurt, they're gonna realize like, damn, maybe we might not need an extra game. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe we gotta fucking go back to 16 games. Like we don't need 17. But they're so money hungry that I feel like they're just going to continue to just try to build and build more and more games. Because originally, at some point in time, it was 13 games in the season.
He sure was.
It bumped up to 16. Now it bumped up to 17. Now they're in the process of trying to bump it up to 18. Motherfucker, in 10 years, it fuck around be 25 fucking NFL games. The whole fucking league gonna be hurt. Then they're gonna realize nobody's fucking watching this shit because the main reason why we watch the NFL is to see the star players. I don't want to I love my team, but I'm not buying a ticket to the fucking Ravens game to see the second and third string. I want to see the stars. You know what I'm saying? Just like these like fucking for the NBA for an example. I'm not going to a fucking Lakers game when LeBron, Luca, and Austin Reeves is hurt. The Lakers are the Lakers, but at the same time, I don't want to see the third and fourth string. I'm not paying my hard earned money to see them. I'll see them on the fucking TV, but I'm
That's
not
it.
paying
Sure.
my hard earned money. Yeah, I'm not paying my hard earned money to see that shit. And I feel like that's what the NFL is going to have to realize. Like, y'all continue to try to add more and more games to try to make you all more money. But at the same time, once more and more of the star players of the league start getting hurt, that's when it's going to affect y'all pockets. That's when they might realize, like, oh shit, we might got to calm down on trying to continue to add more and more games. But who the fuck am I? I'm just a low man on a total pole.
Who the fuck am I to? Because you know what, when I hear just about those comments about what Zay Flowers said, and just also just knowing the NFL's obsession with artificial turf, it's just like, yo, that's a workplace malpractice suit for
It
me.
is.
I'm just like, yo, there's not a lot of other leagues that rely on artificial turf the
Yep.
same way that the NFL does, right? And then you have a fucking coach that wants to go and do 101s, even in week fucking 17. Even I don't even know what that playoff thing even looks like. Was he still even doing that shit inside of the playoffs? Doing padded up practices like that on top of artificial turf. So now that guy goes to fucking MetLife Stadium, which has had so many complaints about torn ACLs. You just
Yep.
had Malik Neighbors tear his fucking ACL, right? And now you got that coach going over there inside of that fucking place where like they already know that like this stadium would not be conducive for like other leagues, right? For example, if this is like a World Cup thing, right? I can see some of these soccer clubs from Europe going up there looking at the state of the grass and being up there like, oh no, we're not the NFL, we're not some of these other ones that are just money hungry. Like we actually care about our players, so then we're going to have to go up there and look at just this environment. We're going to have to put up some natural grass. We're
Yep.
going to have to do that, and I've never heard so much backlash from owners and just some of these organizational people when like somebody like Aaron Rodgers or somebody like Matt Stafford or some of these other players will go and just say like, hey, you know, um, can we get away from this artificial turf and can we just get natural turf? And they just shut it down, right? Because it's kind of just like, man, like that is my problem. Where like how you just said they just went from 13 games to 16 games to 17 games, and now with this new CBA probably coming, they will probably get that 18th game, right? So they will eliminate they will eliminate some preseason games just to go and just have some more regular season games, and those billionaires just get even more richer. Those team evaluations get even more pricier and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
But it's just like, yo, like I don't come there just to go and to make some of these owners' families even more rich, right? And that, like you just said, that's my problem. Where it's just like, well, they're just playing with this competitive balance thing, where or like they're trying to go and just balance this thing where it's just like, well, we could go and get more natural type of thing where like the shelf life for our players is much longer, but inside of the NFL would that even be smart to have even longer shelf lives for their players? And it's just like, no. So like they already know that just like, hey, they don't have to improve the facilities because they already know that the food is so good people are going to go and come there. That thing could have been rated by like the health service as like a B or C, right? Even though you can get like a type of service somewhere else, but they know that it's going to be so popular. It's like that fucking popular hole in the wall type of spot inside of your city, right? It's fucking like Jimmy's. It's fucking like, oh man, what's that other one that's on fucking Baltimore Street, dog? Bills. It's like fucking Bills, dog.
Tone up.
Right? You on
Tone
fucking
fucking off.
yo, right. Yo, you on Bills, yo, you had fucking Northeast Market and shit like that. And you know what I mean? You bring somebody who ain't from Baltimore in there and they just like, oh shit, yo, what the fuck's going on? But I'm just like, yo, this food right here is fucking good, right?
Right.
And that's what the NFL is. It's just like, yo, they could fix up those facilities the same way that it would look like in like fucking Annapolis, right? But they know that so many people from John Hopkins, so many people from the hood are going to come there just because the food is so good that they don't really have to go and improve it as much as they did. Even though like Northeast Market definitely just got a new fucking facelift. It growing up, that motherfucker was grimy growing up. I used to love going to fucking Northeast Market, right? But like they had to
Used
basically
to have some
gentrify
shit like
themselves
that.
as well
That's a
too,
fact. That's a fact. That's
right?
definitely a
So
fact.
like yeah, man, I think the NFL is just like that, where it's just like they could go up there and make the facilities and make it better and just do some of the stuff that would help with the players' shelf life. Like they're just admitting CTE is actually a real thing. So, why am I expecting this multi-billion-dollar organization to also have morals as well?
Exactly. Because ultimately, they don't fucking give a fuck. They like the, bruh. It's like for an example, right? Let's just say, like, the motherfucker who it's certain like owners who respectfully, they are cool with having a McDonald's, and there's certain owners who love and want to go and want to be like a Chick-fil-A, right? Like we serving the same thing, we serving the same people, but it's two totally different classes. One owner is like, at the end of the day, I know that people are going to come here because people, are so in tune with this organization that they are going to come, so we can serve them and give them whatever. Another team owner is like, no, we want to do what's best for the players. We want to do what's best for the fans. We want to do what's best for the staff. Let's give good customer service. Let's try to be the Chick-fil-A, right? So it really all depend on the owners and the people who are running these organizations, because it's kind of interesting that I was just saying, and I was hearing James Harrison, a former Pittsburgh Steelers player, talking about the Steelers. Uh, Locker rooms and how they only had a few, a few stalls and a few bathrooms for fucking 50, 60 players. Not only 50, 60 players, but 20, 30 fucking coaches, 20, 30 fucking extra staff people. So motherfucking James Harrison was like, yo, I would have to go upstairs outside of the locker room and had to go to this specific bathroom that I knew about, that not a lot of other people knew about, for me to have to shit. Bitch,
Right.
you get like, this is a fucking $1 billion organization and team. You mean to tell me I gotta fucking scratch and claw and fucking do have a fucking hide and seek event for me to find a fucking extra bathroom for me to go to? Like, make it
Yeah.
make sense. But just like you said, just like with the fucking Giants, they don't give a fuck. Even if they got their own fucking players getting hurt, they don't give a fuck. They like, no, and I'm sure it's a fucking money thing. Like, we cool with this field that we have because it fits in our budget. We don't want to do nothing more with this. We're gonna keep it how it is. We don't give a fuck who get hurt. Unfortunately, they get hurt, they get hurt. We don't give a fuck if it's our own players or other players. But the fact that the word around the league is that this specific NFL team's field continuously getting people hurt, and it's in the facts, and they don't decide to do anything about it, that make me look at you different, like completely different, like from the owner on down. Like, y'all don't give a, like, if people are constantly saying this about y'all don't give a fuck. That's like a motherfucker telling me, yo, you stink every day. Like, like, wash the fuck up. You stink every day. And I'm just like, no, I smell good.
Right,
Well,
right. I
nigga,
don't smell nothing.
if 30 people telling you your ass stank,
Then nigga, you stink.
so why the fuck wouldn't they, like, the proof is in the pudding, bro. They don't give a fuck. Like, obviously. So whatever that they gotta do as an organization, they are going to do to better to ultimately, but do better for themselves. Which is another reason why I also feel these players, when they be like, no, I'm standing up for what the fuck I believe in, because these teams and these organizations are going to stand up for what they believe in. Just like this NIL shit. All these fucking coaches and these old school ass, you feel me, pre 2000 ass fucking coaches talking about, oh, this is a fucking mockery. The players uh want more money, and they fucking in a portal because they not getting money from a specific team. Bitch, y'all been doing that shit since the beginning of the time. So why, when a rose flip, it's a problem? Why, when the roles flip and now the players have the ball in their court, now y'all on some, well, I'm quitting. I don't want to do this no more because everything didn't change. No, bitch, you've been having your way for fucking 30, 40 years, and now that somebody else got a turn, you don't want to admit, you feel me? You don't want to abide by it. Like, nah. So man, I want every player to go out there and get your bag. I want every player to go out there and do what's personally best for you, because ultimately these teams, these organizations are going to do what's best for them. Like, you can come, because before NIL, man, you can have a coach telling you, yeah, man, oh man, you're fucking awesome, man. You're gonna start, and I'm gonna give you 30, 30, handoffs a game. I'm gonna give you, 10 to 15 catches a game. And then fucking 2 weeks later, you bring in big ass Jerome from down Alabama, and now I'm third on the bench. But bitch, you was just telling me I'm gonna get every goddamn carry or every motherfucking catch that Big Jerome was getting. So now when the roles flip and I got the ball in my court, and I had another coach over here telling me, "Hey Tone, I'm gonna give you 10 million to come over here and play for me." Fuck with yeah, fuck what
Fuck
they saying
yes.
over there. I'm gonna give you 10 mil to play for me. You think I'm not going to play for that 10 mil?
Come on, man.
Nigga, fuck you and your cash. I'm going over there with the 10 mil. The fuck?
Peace.
Right.
Fuck out of here.
Yeah, yeah, man. And it's just one of these things where it's just like it's such a pipeline where like at least inside of some of these other, I guess, sports and stuff like that, you actually have like a regulated minor league system, where like everything is regulated, right? But they have the NCAA. NCAA is the most corrupt organization in the United States,
Right.
honestly, because the way that the NCAA can go up there and can manipulate themselves being a fucking entity
Yep.
while just being a place where athletes can go and get from amateur settings to professional settings, like they found a way to become the monopoly with that, right?
Yep.
So NFL don't want to mess that up. College don't want to go and mess that up, even with the NIL and everything like that, right? It's kind of
Yep.
just like, well, like now the money is just moving to a lot more different places where like I think here's the problem with some of the stuff that I hear just about NIL sometimes. It's just like, oh man, well, like now it's just a brand new day. It's just like, no, not really, just because even if you look at basketball, right? Even though like Duke and North Carolina, right now they have to suffer with like a lot of their 5 and 4 star recruits going to different places, and now they're getting the bag inside of different places
Yep.
because maybe at like one time they would have to go and stay, right? And they would have to go and stay inside of like a organization. They would have to go and stay somewhere like Duke, right? But now it's kind of just like, well, they're still getting money, right? Their NIL budget is still crazy, right?
Yep.
So nothing really changed. It's kind of just like, well, like those ones that were just dominating the sport before, they're just not dominating. Alabama isn't dominating football, but it still doesn't mean that Alabama isn't bringing in a lot of fucking money and is
Facts.
still pumping out NFL players, like that. So nothing really is going to go and change with NIL. It's kind of just like, man, like now it's kind of just like, well, now instead of them just looking at Alabama and just looking at fucking Ohio State just for players. Now they can look at everywhere. Now you can go to Arizona State. You can go to some of these other ones to be up there like, well, such and such used to be at this place, but then he transferred a few times. He getting his money right now. So like he's still a big time prospect. So man, it's one of those things where like everybody is eating. The only people who are getting the raw end of the deal is the consumers, are the fans. Cause now you have to buy all these streaming fucking packages just to go and watch certain games.
Yep.
You have to go and get Netflix for certain games. You have to go and get Prime for certain things. And it's kind of just like the ones who aren't benefiting are just the fans, myself and yourself, of just like, yo, I just want one place where like ESPN was cool for a while because like that's where all of the shit was. Now
Yep.
it's kind of just like, well, if you don't have a Prime, if you don't have Netflix, if you don't have Peacock for some of these things, it's just like unless you know people that have it and then they're okay with it, or unless you know those places where you can go and just see all that shit for free, you're the one that's getting fucked over, right? And if people are anything like me, I don't utilize those streaming platforms like that. So it's kind of just like I'm spending $15 for like a part of a season, and like these aren't even like the broadcast partners the same way that like Masson is for like the Oreos
Right.
back at home, right? Where it's just like, yo, I'll pay $15 for Masson if I know that like I can get all 62 baseball games for like the Orioles, right?
Right.
That's easy money. But if I got to pay $15 a month for like Netflix, and like I know that I'm not really watching Netflix like that, but I'm watching it just to go and just watch like some Christmas games or watching like a fucking Thanksgiving game or like watching some playoff games, I'm gonna be pissed. And I have been pissed. So
Super
yeah,
fucking
man.
pissed. Nigga, I just tried to watch a fucking playoff game, and I'm like, bro, I know this shit gonna be on ESPN. I know this shit gonna be on TNT. Nigga, this shit said Amazon Prime. I said, yo,
What the fuck?
fuck, yo. Now I'm fucking
Right.
reaching out to people trying to get like, yo, you got Prime, you got Prime. And the thing about it is another fucking thing, nigga, fuck next. All right, let me calm the fuck down. Let me calm down. I'm sorry, cause I'm trying to get.
Yo, for real, yo,
I'm trying to get sponsored. So if any, look, Netflix, Prime, Peacock, I apologize from the bottom of my heart. I'll say this, right? Netflix. All I'm asking is for y'all to do better, right? It shouldn't be a limit on how many households one account has. Like, if my mother paid for a package, I should be able to watch my mother package. Or if I'm at,
Exactly.
like, if I want to use my mother package on my laptop and my TV, I should be able to. I shouldn't be limited to. Well, your mother's account is technically only under two profiles, and is at her house and your TV. Now I'm on a flight and I can't watch Netflix on my laptop because
Right.
they cut off how many things you can watch on a goddamn, because they just want more money. Like,
There you go, bro.
fuck y'all. It's like,
Fuck them. Fuck them motherfuckers, man. Fuck those motherfuckers.
look,
But yo, you're right,
sorry,
man.
yo.
Yo, the only
we need all the sponsors
hey,
we can get. I'm sorry.
hey man, look. If the sponsor is listening, don't fuck y'all, but still, y'all need to do better.
That's
But
all we
like,
saying.
yo, that's it. Just step the game up. But yo, you're 100% correct. At the end of the day, it's just the fans, man, that's getting fucked. Just because, like, yo, those media people, they'll be fine. They'll be able just to go and get the access that they need to, or they will get the resources to go and see it. Some of these other ones, they're good, right? It's just us, man. We're the ones that's getting fucked over with that. But Big Dog, man, we touched on a lot of different things, man. That shit was awesome, man. Yo, do you have anything else, man, that you want to go and talk about?
Man, we appreciate everybody who support us, man. Make sure y'all tune in. Continue to show us love. You know, continue to follow us on all our platforms. And everybody be safe out there. Appreciate y'all support.
Hell yeah, man. You know, sports ball has definitely come a long way, man. You know, we still got a long way to go, but stuff like this, man, yo, where we just come out here, man, just talk our shit, man, and you know, we just trying to just push the culture forward, have a good conversation, and yeah, man, just lock in with us, man. We are on all of these platforms and stuff like that. So, can't wait just to go and just break down the draft. You know, so since the draft is tomorrow and since it's going to go through the 25th, man, I'm really excited just to go and see what certain teams going to do. I'm really excited just to see, you know, who really wins the first two rounds of the draft, but I'm also really excited to see who drops the fucking ball this year as well too. So I'm excited, man. I know that you are, man. So it's always a pleasure getting out here, man, and yo, just talking some shit with you, Big Dog.
Definitely, big dog.
Hell yeah, man. So, yo, lock in with us again, man. Follow us on all of the platforms and everything like that, and keep it easy, bro.
Keep it easy.